This week on Capitol Report, unions give back.
Once again, this governor has asked for us to step up, and we came to the call.
Yeah, piece of cake. Give us something harder next time.
I thank them for that. Now the legislature has to do their job, approve that package, and pass a budget.
Ranking the nation's governors.
I'd just like to point out that every newspaper in the country has picked us to finish last.
How low can Malloy go?
Man looks in the abyss. There's nothing staring back at him. At that moment, a man finds his character.
And from prison?
I guess it comes down to a simple choice, really. Get busy living, or get busy dying.
Back to politics.
There's a need and an opportunity to help, and I just want to be able to do that.
Gather around. Capitol Report starts now. Welcome to Capitol Report. I am Tom Dutchick, and we are so glad that you are spending some time with us on Sunday morning as we kick around the world of Connecticut politics alongside Communication Director for 1199, Jennifer Snyder. Welcome. Roy Occhio-Grosso, Managing Director of Global Strategies and former Senior Advisor and Chief Strategist. I like the good old days. For Governor Malloy. Joey Latina, Chief of Staff for New Britain Republican Mayor Aaron Stewart. And the big dog is back, tanned, rested, and ready. Chris Healy, former GOP Party Chair, and what do you call yourself these days?
Old guy. Still
Policy
employed.
Director for the Senate Republicans.
Senate Republicans.
All right, guys, let's get into it. There were a lot of happy faces and high fives as member of the state employee unions overwhelmingly ratified concessions agreement negotiated with Governor Daniel Malloy. Deals worth an estimated $1.57 billion over the next 2 years.
$1.5 billion again saved in the next 2 years, and for this agreement, 24 over the next 20 years. That is almost 30% of the state's budget deficit, reduced and eliminated by less than 2% of the state's population.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what we did. That's what we did by coming together. We definitely did our part. Today we are gathered here to say that middle-class workers have done their part by help saving the state with billions of dollars. Now it's time for our legislators to do their part by asking the billionaires and the corporations to do the same. We can't be the only part in this process. There must be someone else to be able to do their share.
And union supporters are not letting up on pressuring lawmakers to craft what they call a moral budget. Watch this.
What you have done should be more than matched by Connecticut's millionaires, billionaires, and corporations.
Yes.
How? Hear us, legislators, hear us. Closing the carried interest tax loophole would generate $550 million in savings for our state. Increasing the capital gains tax rate and taxes on the wealthiest would generate another $500 million for our state. I don't think those who would do this would not be able to eat the next day.
Well, Communication Director for 1199, Jen Snyder. Not as easy as it sounds. I read a quote from Department of Revenue Services Commissioner Kevin Sullivan, and his quote was, "Taxing the rich is a nice sound bite, but in the end, if there are less rich to pay, it's the ones in the middle that wind up paying more." How do you square that circle?
Well, it's not just a nice soundbite, it's also a good policy for a state. You can't be asking billions of dollars in savings from one group of workers. The House Republicans want to raise the taxes on the working poor by $140 million by eliminating the earned income tax credit. So there has to be the same ask of middle-class workers and the working poor that you're asking of billionaires and corporations. And that's just not just a good soundbite, it's actually good policy for a state.
Chris, jump in.
Well, I don't know how far we have to go before people understand that without wealth, you can't have jobs, and without wealth, you can't have people working. The unions gave back really nothing at all. This is freezing of raises. It's putting off people getting paid. The health care benefit concessions are minimal. They gave back and conceded nothing. And the proof is the House Democrats don't have the votes to pass the budget. Now, the state unions will still run this government after this budget until we get down to the real issues.
We'll get Roy in right after this. House Minority Leader Themis Claridis asked the question, just how good is this CBAC deal?
I think that they know that that's the best deal in the United States of America. And I don't blame them for voting for it. I understand from that perspective.
Facebook post, Themis Clara said the unions are pitting the middle class against the middle class. You probably don't agree with that.
I don't agree with it. I don't agree with what Chris said. It's a significant savings. To say that $24 billion over 20 years is not significant, it's not a made-up number. It's been verified by actuaries who looked at it.
That's where you're wrong. The pension issue was actuarially verified. On the cover of the CBAC contract, it says revenues from salaries was verified by your friends at the Office of Policy and Management, the Governor's Budget Office. And we've seen what his budget prognostications have done in the past. Many budgets passed and immediately out of balance, immediately in deficit.
It's $24 billion, which is $24 billion more than any Republican ever got in concessions. That's a fact.
Right, and it's also 30% of the state's budget deficit in 2 years is going to be eliminated through this deal, and that's just the 1.56 over the next 2 years. I mean, these are real numbers. The longer that Democrats and Republicans are kind of like trying to fight this out, then there isn't the attention that needs to be paid to who else is going to be sacrificing, because this is a huge sacrifice for state workers that do really important work for the state.
Long-term and non-starter for this is that there are no layoff provisions. You cannot operate a state government that's $5 billion in deficit with the ability to not lay people off.
But stability is important for our state. Layoffs are bad for our state.
It's important for businesses to have stability and for the rest of the taxpayers to have stability.
The most significant piece of this deal we have not talked about, it creates an entirely new class of state employees.
Which should have happened a long time ago.
But it's happening now.
Which is great,
now, which is why this deal should be supported.
But the rest of it is not good.
And hopefully I will be long dead before I have to pay the pensions of those state employees. We have 55,000 state employees. A generation ago, with the same population, we have half that. Now, you tell me the state services are so good.
I don't know where you're getting your numbers from. First of all, there are not 55,000 state employees. There are 50,000, 15% fewer than when Dan Malloy took office.
And
I'll give you 50. We had 29,000 when we were back in 1991 when his friend raised the income, started the income tax, and started this precipitous decline.
And who governed for most of the time since then?
Republican governors.
That's a fact.
And they were wrong too.
The comptroller just released numbers that since 2008 there's been a 20% reduction of the state workforce. So this just isn't accurate what you're saying.
All right, guys. Hey, listen, this is a public service announcement for all you guys at home. Senate President Len Fasano is all fired up. Hide the kids.
You saw in this building today what is happening by us not having a budget. And damn it, we have to wake up that people are being hurt.
Okay, guys, let's move to a budget discussion. Jump in.
I think that, Democrats are the rational people in the room. They're really looking at the fact that you need revenue solutions along with budget cuts. You can't be Kansas where you're just going to cut your way out of billions of dollars in deficits. And so right now it just becomes a question of what revenue we're going to come into.
I'm going to ask the panel to handicap this, but let's let Speaker Eric Simowitz handicap it first for us. Watch this.
Will accept it in the House and send it up to the Senate, and the Senate will accept it. Again, it's $1.5 billion. If you stop for a moment and think what this budget is held up over, if we throw that $1.5 billion into the mix, I don't know if we ever get a budget.
So Joe, tell us, when do you think we'll vote?
We could potentially be coming in for a budget vote soon. I've said all along, I feel really confident we can come to a budget agreement and vote on it by the end of the month, and we're still in that same place.
As for making everyone happy with the budget, he wishes it was that simple.
But we have to govern. And the Republican Party in both chambers has been great about working with us over the past few weeks. But that has to continue to the budget vote. We're never going to get a budget that's 100% of exactly what we like, and we still have to find a way to get our votes there.
Well, Roy was chomping at the bit to get at that one. Go ahead.
I don't think there's a budget until the end of September.
I'm going beyond that. I think that they're way too far apart, even with this deal, and that's if this deal passes. I think there are a lot of people out there that are not happy with the no layoff provision. I think they're not happy about the wage increases at the latter end of this contract negotiation. I think that there's so many pieces in here that people are not happy with that it does not get passed. And so now we're back to square one, and you have municipalities like New Britain who are suffering because things are getting cut. Lead grant coordinators are getting cut. You need your money to pave your roads. You need your money to pay your teachers when they get back to school. There are some serious issues as a result of them not doing their duty by passing a budget. So every day that ticks away, people are suffering.
Don't disagree. I think there'll be a budget at the end of September, and I think the concessions package.
Do Democrats get 76?
The issue here is there's a handful of Democrats in the House and the Senate that will not vote for this budget. They'll, in fact, vote against it if it comes up, and they would all vote for the Republican budget. You ask anybody in that building, the House or the Senate Republican budget proposals would pass.
How about the concession agreement? Does that pass?
I think that passes, and I don't think you have the votes for your budget, or else they'd run it.
Hold on. They're not running the budget. They're not running the budget because they control it in the House. In the Senate, it has to be by mutual agreement. And the Democrats won't agree to it because they know Democratic senators will vote for the Republican budget.
But the Republican budget hurts middle-class workers and the working poor, and it doesn't share the pain.
For their budget? Where's the vote?
The Republican budget assumes not this concessions package, which means you don't have a budget.
No,
you don't have a balanced
assumes
budget.
the concession package that they tweaked, which actually would save more money than the one that's currently on the table.
You don't have the votes for that.
Yes, of course they do. They're just too afraid to call it 1818.
If you don't vote for this concessions package, you lose those savings. Your savings are not anything close to that.
They're more.
The good news, guys, we'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about this through September, according to Roy, right? Up next, we check in with our Capitol Report insider, Mark Davis. We'll talk restaurants and taxes. Keep it right here. Nice job, guys.